Today, we're going to be talking about how judging yourself takes away from the value. Now, I want you to think about something that you're doing, and we're actually going to use listening to this podcast as an example. So, when you listen to this podcast, you can listen and you can learn things and you can feel better and you can really start to learn how your mind is working and how to create more commitment. Or you could judge yourself about the way that you're showing up to the podcast. Like maybe you might be judging yourself because you haven't listened to all the episodes, or maybe your brain's telling you that you're behind, or maybe you like missed a couple of days, or whatever it is that your brain's telling you. Maybe it's telling you you should listen again, or you should take notes, or you should implement every single thing I've ever talked about. Like whatever it is, your brain might have this judgment. But what happens is when you're judging yourself, you're taking yourself away from the things that you are doing. Like, even if you only listened to one podcast episode, you implemented it, you applied it, you thought about it, you considered a new idea, that could be extremely valuable for you. But if you're judging yourself because you've only listened to one or you haven't listened in for a couple of days or whatever the reason is, it takes away from that value that you could get just by listening to one, just by listening to part of one. Sometimes I listen to things and I'm like, wow, that one sentence was exactly what I needed. And so you might find this showing up in lots of different places. Like maybe you've joined like a coaching program, or maybe you have books, or maybe just something you're trying to learn. Like, how are you judging the way that you're showing up to something and noticing how that ends up taking away from your experience? And it also ends up taking away like what you could be learning, how you could be implementing, how you could be changing things. And especially like with the podcast, because like this is something that I had to learn is because I'd be subscribed to a lot of podcasts, but I wouldn't listen to every single episode of every single one. And my brain's like, no, we need to listen to this. We need to listen to that. We need to get them all in. And what I realized is like my goal and the purpose of listening to podcasts is not to like listen to every single one, is not to like complete every single thing. The reason that I'm doing it is because I want it to help me get a result. I want to feel better. I want to be inspired. I want to be motivated. I want to be entertained sometimes. There are reasons for it, but the reason is not because I want to listen to every single one. And oftentimes our brain isn't looking at like, what's the result? What's the experience? It's just looking at how we're showing up. Whereas we could actually have that result, we could actually have that experience without doing every single thing, without showing up to every single thing, without watching everything, listening to everything, implementing everything, thinking about everything. So when you notice your brain trying to judge you, notice is it judging you for how you're showing up? And is that impacting the result that you're able to create and your experience of creating it? And if judging yourself is something that kind of comes up a lot, something you would like to change, something you would like to work on with a coach, then go to successbykayla.com to sign up for my free consult call. Because on that call, we're going to be able to talk about where you are, which could right now look like I'm judging myself all the time. It's really uncomfortable. It's really not helping me get to where I want to go. We can talk about like, what is the relationship that you want to have with yourself? So how do we go from being the person that judges ourselves all the time to being nicer to ourselves and being the person we want to be while also creating the results we want? That's what we can talk about on that call. And then we can discuss my 12-week coaching program so that you can see if that's a great fit for you, so that we can actually do those steps together. We can do that work together. We can go from like judging yourself all the time to feeling so much better about yourself. I want you to imagine just for a second, what would it be like if you weren't judging yourself all of the time?